So I'm getting this edema in it, all this personal stuff on the side, and it was just, I didn't speak about anything. It was just like, okay, wake up, do cardio, you know, go to the gym, go to work, do this, do that, just don't think about it, put it down, push it down, push it. And I kept doing that. And then I think that with my fiance, she was noticing I was a little bit off. And this is why, like, having good people around you is fucking everything when you have, like, a stressful life. And she just knew something was off, and she's like, are you good? Like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. She asked me again. She's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. Like, and then I was like in the bathroom, and she came in, like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. And she asked me one more time. She's like, are you, like, look at me. Are you okay? And I just started bawling. And I had no idea. I didn't know I was that stressed out. I just was like numb. And I just started bawling, like hit the floor, was just sobbing. I was just like, I just feel like the world's crashing down on me right now. I feel like all this shit's going on externally, and I'm just trying to focus on the Olympia. I've won 2. I have to be better. I'm getting so close. I feel behind. Like, all this shit's going on. Now I have this business, all this chaos going on in my life, and I just, like, I don't know if I can handle this. And she's just like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, of course you feel like that. Like, no shit. But she's like, I don't know why, like, you can share this with me. Like, the world is on your shoulders. It's fucking stressed out right now, and it should be. This is a lot of opportunity in front of you, and if you want to quit, you can, but I know you, and I know you won't. And right now, you just need to sit in this, cry, let it out. I'm here with you, but I know you're going to get out from this. You're going to go to the gym. You're going to kill your workout. You're going to wake up, and you're going to keep doing that. But this is normal part of what you're going through. She was literally like, you don't think Michael Jordan ever broke down and felt like he couldn't handle the stress that was on him, like building the NBA into what it was, not even just his team? I was like, fuck, like, yeah. He didn't talk about it though. And she was like, well, fuck yeah. Then none of them no men know how to talk about their emotions properly. And it was just like, she just like built this confidence in me. I was just like, fuck yeah, of course, like, this is a huge pressure, there's a lot going on, and I'm stressed. What's wrong with that? I'm not going to let it control me, but I'm allowed to feel this moment right now. And that was just like, wow, you know, like, I can lean on people. People are there to help me. I can share how I feel, and someone's going to actually make me feel better, because my whole life it was just bottle everything up. You can handle it all by yourself. You know, you're a man, you can handle this shit. And I was just like, no, you know, like, I'm allowed to feel, but who I am is not going to be controlled by these feelings. So it was just a huge moment, I mean, and in our relationship too, you know, like, everyone is with a family alone. Like, I have stress, having to provide for a family is like the ultimate. And the men who feel like they have to provide and like the world is on their shoulders, they don't understand that, like, their wife and their family wants to help them. Like, they might not make it easier, but like, they'll get under that weight with you, and they'll hold that with you, and it's not a burden to them. Because I always felt like asking for help would make me a burden. I'd be like, I'm just going to make someone else's life harder. So, like, they're stressed out over there. I don't want to add to that. I'm just going to be okay over here. But it actually makes them feel close to you. It gives them purpose.
People want to be wanted.
Oh my God, yeah. You ask someone for help, they're like, fuck yeah. Like, I feel good about myself today because I helped this person. And it really brought our relationship closer in that moment. It made her feel like I just helped him in this part where he said he can do it all by himself all the time. And now, like, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I really needed that. And it was a really important moment for my personal growth, champion growth, relationship growth. The issue with that is it's not like, the whole point is like, when you felt that, it isn't like, then that becomes another problem. So you're beating yourself up, and then it's a problem that you're beating yourself up.
Correct.
It's just like a continuous loop of like this like battle you're having yourself.
Yeah.
But if you don't even think that you forgetting and beating yourself up is a problem, it's just part of like what happens in the human experience, then there's nothing to fix, and it slowly just like shifts back to normal.
Yeah, I think feeling shame about the things that you feel is really, really, really destructive. And I know that I felt this for a long time, that I should be more disciplined, I should be more competent, I should be more diligent. Every single mistake that I make, I stumble over this I'm supposed to not hit snooze on the morning, and I hit snooze, or I check my phone really quickly before I go for a walk on the morning, and that means that I'm fundamentally a piece of shit, or this means there's an awareness, there's like a alert radar, and I'm permanently looking for reasons to justify that I might be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm just constantly seeking like a threat detector, but it's not, it's a shit detector.
Yeah.
And I'm permanently looking for reasons to justify it to myself. And that was for a long time. And this is, you know, I'm such a massive fan of personal development and of personal growth and of people improving themselves. But as soon as you posit an ideal, you then begin to compare yourself to that ideal. And that creates a pain between where you are and where you want to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm all for trying to maximize your agency, make as much of the time that you have on this planet as you can. And balancing that desire to be better with acceptance, love, empathy for yourself, and the ability to just be grateful and present in the moment. Like, I think fundamentally for a lot of driven people, that's the battle. Yeah. I think those are the two things that they're fighting with, that tension.
And it's work. It's like constant work. And like, I still have things that come up with me that are like similar to that. Like, even in this conversation, honestly, when you ask me about my morning routine, I'm like, fucking Mr. Olympia, and you don't even have a morning routine? Like, what the fuck? You should be more structured in the morning. And then I was like, what the fuck? Like, you are Mr. Olympia and you don't have a morning routine, period. I don't need to fucking shame myself after that. I'm Mr. Olympia and I don't have a morning period. Yep. And I can just leave it at that. And I also just recently discovered this like battle in myself, which I kind of mentioned, of this expectation that was on me, which like I kind of labeled as C-Bum. Some people call me C-Bum. They don't know who I am. And then there's Christopher.
Yes.
There's like that 12-year-old Christopher who's just like, you know, he's emotional, he's anxious, he's stressed out, but he's quiet, and he's just who he is. And then C-Bum is fucking confident, calm, cool, collected, can step on stage, grab a mic, give a motivational speech, crush Olympia, squat 600 pounds, you know, he's like the dream. And then that person doesn't exist. But when people continuously call me C-Bum, treat me like that, look up to me like that, that's what builds this like disconnection in myself. And I need to continuously discover who Chris is, who Christopher is, go back who he was, who he is now, and like all these aspects of myself that are just me, and let that continuously shine through. But I think as like you adapted when you were young, I've adapted when we were young, we create this thing that fits better into society rather than just being ourselves, because we want to fit in, we want to succeed, we want to be the ideal that we hear. And there was this, I think it's Brene Brown, she talks about it. She's a vulnerability specialist. I'm sure you know who she is. She said this thing where is if you show up in a crowd and your goal is to fit in, then you're putting your self-worth on the line. But if you show up and your goal is just to be yourself, then you can't fail, and your self-worth is at the end of the day is if you just act like yourself. Everybody can do that, and then you leave feeling good about yourself because you have control over that. But if you're showing up and you're just doing and being anything just to be fit into the crowd, and you don't fit in and you're not even being yourself, then who the fuck are you? You know, you're worthless. So it's a lot easier to just show up and make the goal to be seen rather than to be accepted, because that's who you are and it's in your control.
There's a problem as well that I found, especially in my 20s. So I was this sort of big name on campus club promoter for 15 years, right? And I run this massive events company, meet millions of people. I'm the guy that's really well known. I'm on the front door of nightclubs, etc., etc., etc. And I never felt love for the achievements that I had during that. And I think a big part was because I was playing a persona. And I came to believe, this is an Aubrey Marcus thing, I know you're a fan of his as well. He says, the persona is incapable of receiving love, it can only receive praise. And the reason is that if you're not genuinely existentially connected from your heart to the things that you're doing, any praise that you get isn't going to actually impact you emotionally, because you're not emotionally connected. You're cognitively connected.
That ego over here can get the praise, but you're not really like feeling
so C-Bum, congratulations C-Bum, you did really well. Christopher, meanwhile, is still a worthless piece of shit from 12 years.
That little boy I locked in the closet is just back there watching C-Bum.
Precisely correct. And, you know, it goes back to the parable of the Mexican fisherman thing, or like, what are you optimizing for with regards to success? Do you want to make it to the end of your life with all of the public accolades that anybody could want, feeling completely unfulfilled internally?
And alone.
Lost. Or do you want to dial back what you do in the real world so that it actually matches up with who you are, and move both of those people forward? Like, if any one concept can be explained in a single sentence, it's probably not sufficiently complex, you know?
For sure,
Like, especially,
I think the biggest tool that they come, or that those like parables or quotes or whatever have come with me, was just like giving me a reason to self-reflect. So when I hear like a quote or like a story or something I've said in the past that really like, I'm like, fuck, that kind of like hits me, I'll like write it down and I'll continuously go back and kind of rethink what it means to me. You know, and I think we all need to learn how to really think for ourselves. So when you listen to someone, like we keep going back to Andrew Tate because you brought him up, when he goes on this, I listened to part of his huge podcast and there was all this shit. I'm like, fuck, like this dude's smart. I'm fired up. Like this all makes sense. And he said something and I'm like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't for myself. That's, if it works for him, okay, but like, I don't. So I don't have to agree with everything he's saying, but I have to be smart enough to be able to think for myself, to take pieces of both sides and understand that as much as politics want us to lean right or left, that like, it's somewhere in the middle at the end of the day. And you have to, like you said, you have to find your own way, some level. You have to, it's constant reflection of finding who you are and finding out where you fit in all this and how it integrates into you. Not just because person X does it like this, but because you do it the best way you do it. And you have to learn through mistakes and through practice and reflection and life and triumph and pain and all this shit, you know?
Well, a lot of guys message me and ask about, I don't necessarily have the support system around me that I wish that I did to be able to do the things that I want to. I live in the northwest of England, and, you know, I love reading philosophy or psychology and learning about human nature, but all of my friends are like rugby players and all they want to do is go out and drink every weekend. And I used to be like that, and maybe now I'm not, and I'm starting to feel discontinuity and discord and friction between me and the life that I used to live and the life that I live now and where I want to go. How can I deal with the fact that this is painful for me? And the answer is, the fact that it is painful is the reason that it's working. That if it wasn't you stepping out, everybody else that has to try and step out into this new life faces this same thing too. Every single person does. That's why most people don't do it. Like, this is what hard feels like, and this is why most people don't win. So continuing to push through and almost seeing that level of discomfort as a signal, it's like a way marker that's been planted in the ground. Yes, more this way. Because if it was all just super easy, well, how are you going to get anything different to what everybody else has got if you do the same thing that everybody else does? And one of the best selectors for people not doing a thing is discomfort. So the route that has a lot of discomfort down it, usually on the other side of that, ends up with something which is valuable. Usually.
If you know where your progress is going.
Correct.
Like, to build on that, when you were talking about like the progress part, so it kills a lot of people is like, what are you progressing towards? People who sit in their jobs and they feel like there's no value, it's not contributing to themselves or the world, or really it's just there for a paycheck, that, and it feels like tough, like uncomfortable, though there's just, you know, you're just miserable with it. But at least your friend, if he's chasing after something that's like a dream of his or a passion that he's chasing towards, and his progress and it's uncomfortable, at least at the end of that line, it's what he wants. You know, and that's leads to, obviously, like, a lot of people ask me, how do you stay so, like you mentioned, discipline when you're at the point you want to eat and you're on a diet? I'm like, well, I love what I do. At the baseline, I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and I love what the goal will be. I love the part of it. I love the impact it has on others, to help people in my life and myself. So at the end, that's just, there's a reason, there's a purpose behind it, rather than just mindlessly circling the hamster wheel.
Yeah, one of my friends, Chris Sparks, has this idea called there is no growth without goals. And what he means is that the James Clear Atomic Habits idea of, you know, just focus on daily routines, and you don't need to be outcome focused, you just need to be iteration focused. Just do one day, do one day, do one day. But that only works if it is in service of a greater thing. Yes, you are going to not rise to the level of your goals, you are going to fall to the level of your systems, but your systems need to be moving you in the right direction. Because if you end up realizing, oh, I've been doing all of this stuff day after day after day, and the destination it's taken me to is something that I wasn't even really that bothered about. Like, this happens all the time. People that think, all I need to do is continue to grow the business one day after the next. I'm going to turn up on time, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do the rest of the thing. And in 20 years, they look back and go, I didn't want a big business.
Never cared.
Yeah.
I can do anything with all this money now.
Spent all of this time climbing up a ladder to realize that it's up against the wrong wall. So yeah, there can be no growth without goals. And I think that it's important, but also being too outcome focused, again, holding two conflicting thoughts in your mind at the same balance, time. Yes, it's difficult. It's difficult, but it's important. And even that, even in this that we're talking about, the fact that it's hard to hold two different thoughts in your mind at one time is the exact thing that separates you out from the rest of the crowd. Because that's what most people do. Most people struggle to hold those things.
For sure.
So if you can do it, that's also another selector.